Please join me in welcoming on the stage the Right Honourable Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci Amarjit pour cette introduction. It's a pleasure to be back in Calgary and an honor to be with you here at the Chamber today. Joined by friends like Kent Hare and Amarjit Sohi, I last spoke with you in 2016, so thanks for welcoming me back. I'm looking forward to my discussion with Sandeep, and I hope to hear about what we can do to better serve businesses and workers here in Calgary. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about Albertans. Let's be honest here. The people of Alberta have had a rough few years. They're having a hard time making ends meet, and they're nervous for what comes next. For many people in this province, they don't know what their next job looks like or when they're going to find it. I want you to know that I feel that frustration, and I understand that anxiety. The status quo cannot continue. The drop in oil prices have left many, many people around here without jobs. As a country, we're still fighting a decade-long struggle to build pipelines to non-US markets. The price differential on Alberta oil is a real problem. Because we're forced to sell our oil at a discount, Canada's economy is losing an estimated $80 million a day. That's unacceptable. Of course, it doesn't help that we're witnessing an increase in nationalism and protectionism in trade policy around the world. Here in Canada, we've been working through trade uncertainty with the US. And as an aside, many of you helped directly on that front, talking to your American friends, colleagues, counterparts, business partners, political connections, extolling the benefits of mutual Canada-US trade. And I really want to say thank you to all of you. I know this was a huge effort by everyone up here and everyone right across the country. So thank you for helping us get that over the finish line. For a resource-reliant, export-reliant economy like Alberta, global instability has had even more of an impact than in other parts of the country. When the path forward isn't certain and when the entire world is rethinking the way we do business, people here feel it more than most. For the men and women of this province are resilient. They're incredibly hardworking. And many of you in this room have demonstrated your leadership and commitment to Albertans during a very difficult economic time. While the province is not yet back to where it wants to be, we are all, governments and businesses, working as hard as we can to turn things around. And while it might not always feel like it, we are seeing slow but steady progress. We just secured 3 massive trade deals with the Asia-Pacific region, the European Union, and the United States and Mexico. That last deal was quarterbacked by one of Alberta's very own, Peace River's Chrystia Freeland. Le Canada profite maintenant d'un libre accès aux 2/3 de l'économie mondiale. Nous sommes le seul pays du G7 à avoir des accords de libre-échange avec tous les autres pays du G7. C'est une bonne nouvelle pour l'Alberta, puisque la stabilité des relations commerciales permet aux entreprises comme les vôtres de croître et de planifier pour l'avenir, notamment en embauchant plus de travailleurs. Ça permet à beaucoup d'entre vous d'innover et de tracer la voie à suivre pour bâtir une nouvelle économie moderne. Et dernièrement, des investisseurs internationaux nous ont montré qu'eux aussi font confiance aux Canadiens. Un consortium dirigé par Shell vient d'annoncer la construction d'une nouvelle installation d'exportation de GNL d'une valeur de 40 millions de dollars. Il s'agit de l'investissement du secteur privé le plus important de l'histoire du Canada. The Shell LNG project will be good for BC and Alberta in the short, medium, and long term. It'll create 10,000 good jobs during construction and allow for the export of up to 26 million tons of liquefied natural gas every year to new markets, primarily in Asia. And when it comes to putting dollars to work in Canada, Shell isn't alone. Imperial Oil recently announced it's investing $2.6 billion in the Aspen oil sands project. Nova Chemicals is investing $2 billion in Canada. Salesforce is investing $2 billion. Vale, $1.7 billion. Toyota, $1.4 billion. Companies see growth and potential in our economy and in our people, and they're choosing to put their money to work here in Canada. But in a global economy that is constantly changing, we have to seek out new ways to compete. I know that in the face of trade disputes, U.S. tax reform, and pipeline challenges, many of you have been concerned with Canada's competitiveness. I also know that many of you do business on both sides of the border, and you're worried about our ability to attract new international investment. Those concerns are valid, and we've been seized with them. As a government, we spent the last year listening and learning from the people in this room and in rooms like it across the country, knowing that Canada must adapt and react. Yesterday, our Finance Minister, Bill Morneau, released the 2018 Fall Economic Statement. This annual update serves two major purposes: to inform Canadians on the state of our economy and to introduce some new, timely measures that will ensure continued job growth and job creation. So let's start with a really big, important piece of our plan, a piece that many of you have been calling for, a piece that will help us get Alberta back on track. I'm talking about immediate expensing. Going forward, if you're a manufacturer or a processor here in Alberta or anywhere else in Canada, the cost of machinery and equipment will be eligible for a full tax write-off in the year it's put to use. Same thing goes for capital investments in clean tech. We're also introducing a new accelerated investment incentive for all businesses, meaning faster depreciation of capital assets like computers, new machinery, and even long-lived investments like buildings. Because of these changes, the marginal effective tax rate for new business investment in Canada will become once again the lowest rate in the G7, and that'll make a big difference for Alberta companies looking for that competitive edge. We also announced yesterday that we'll modernize and update Canada's regulatory system. Regulations are important and necessary, but they shouldn't discourage investment. Nous allons réformer notre système actuel pour mieux tenir compte de la croissance économique et de la réduction du fardeau administratif. Notre gouvernement ne se contentera pas seulement de simplifier le système actuel pour que les produits et les services soient approuvés plus rapidement, mais nous réduirons aussi les coûts qui sont liés à la réglementation pour les entreprises. Comme gouvernement, nous comprenons aussi l'importance de diversifier nos échanges. J'ai déjà souligné les grands gains réalisés pour les entreprises et les travailleurs grâce au PT-PGP, à l'ASCG et au nouvel ALENA, mais le Canada a toujours été un pays commerçant et par conséquent, nous continuerons notre travail visant à conclure des meilleurs et nouveaux accords avec des pays qui vont vous permettre de faire des affaires efficacement dans les marchés partout autour du monde. C'est pourquoi nous cherchons activement des opportunités d'échanger avec le bloc commercial du Mercosur, des pays de l'Alliance du Pacifique et de ceux de l'Asie du Sud-Est. Ces accords se traduiraient par un meilleur accès aux marchés de pays comme le Brésil, l'Argentine, la Colombie et l'Indonésie, par des millions de personnes avec qui échanger et à qui présenter des produits canadiens de qualité. And to further diversify Canada's trade, we're focused on building new critical infrastructure. And yes, as Minister Sohi is always quick to point out, that critical infrastructure includes pipelines. As Canada continues to face its painful discount on oil, we're very, very aware of how crucial TMX is to our country. It has enormous strategic importance. Right now, 99% of our oil goes to a single market, the United States. I think we can all agree that that both represents a risk and makes no economic sense. We need to get our resources to new markets, plain and simple. That's why our government made the decision to buy the pipeline and its proposed expansion. But we also realize that a project of this size must be assessed properly. That's exactly what the courts instructed us to do. Now, in Canada, we're about getting big things done the right way. After all, as history has shown us, the alternative simply doesn't work. The previous government tried to cut corners and failed over a decade in power. They couldn't build a single pipeline to new markets. But they did succeed in building up one thing: opposition. Opposition to pipelines and opposition to our vital resource sector right across the country. And that's why we have to try a new approach with TMX. My government is committed to moving forward through meaningful consultations in a way that works for both communities and businesses. Not just because it's the right way, but because it's the only way. When I was here in 2016, I said that Calgary is important to Canada, and I meant it. This is, in fact, my 20th visit to Alberta since becoming Prime Minister. And despite a few who repeatedly tell me to stay away, I'm going to keep coming back, because Alberta is an essential part of this country. I'm here to have real conversations about the problems facing the people who live here, and with the help of people like you, generating some lasting solutions. This isn't about left versus right, west versus east, or liberals versus conservatives. The fact that my last name is Trudeau matters to some people, fine. But to many others, what matters to most is putting food on the table, having a reliable place to live, and getting a good job and raising healthy kids. Those are the issues that matter to Albertans, and that's what I hear from people on the street every time I visit. Regardless of what happens in elections, I will remain committed to this province and to its people. Canadians who live here work hard to make an honest living, provide for their families, and give back to their communities. I know that, and I see that Alberta has contributed a great deal to Canada over the years and continues to contribute every single day. There's no question about that. And you should know that the rest of Canada knows it and sees that too. When I travel across the country, I get to hear firsthand about the incredible goodwill Canadians have for the people of Alberta, and not just from East Coast parents who have their kids working out here. People understand that at the end of the day, we are all Canadians, and they care about what happens to you and to your families, and they want you to succeed. And as a government, we feel exactly the same way. That's why we cut taxes for the middle class. It's why over 115,000 families right here in Calgary receive the Canada Child Benefit tax-free every single month. It's why we're investing in big projects that will grow and strengthen the community. Projects like the Lumino C building I announced this morning, the Airport Trail, Ring Road, the Green Line, and flood mitigation. These investments will make Calgary an even better place to live. To ensure that Canadians and Calgarians prosper, we've taken some big steps already. But there's always more work to be done. We know that, and we need your help. By working as partners, governments and businesses can and will build a stronger Alberta and, in the process, a stronger Canada. It won't always be easy, but I look forward to achieving great things together. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.